way. And I'm really interested to see your answer, because I think for a lot of these questions, I have an idea of what you're going to say, but I actually don't know what your answer is going to be to this, Jason.
Okay.
Why do you think the 49ers ended up drafting Trey Lance?
This is a really good question. Honestly, all I would be doing right now is speculating based on what you've heard them say after what they loved about Trey Lance. Then you can kind of deduce, put the code together. I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's 1, the maturity, 2, the smarts to understand where to go with the ball. You heard Kyle Shanahan talking about, okay, there's incomplete passes, but they're the correct reads. He gets to his reads. Those sort of things are very important. For the speculation in the media, they speculated that Kyle Shanahan wants somebody who's a robot, a Kirk Cousins type, progresses quickly. Nick Mullins, big mind. He loves Nick Mullins, right? Now, how is that not going to be part of the process with Trey Lance, especially considering that he ran similar concepts that Kyle runs, called his protections out, showed that he can go through progressions and put balls in tight windows with all that athleticism. So I'm going to say that it's his maturity, him being able to look at the protections, run a pro-style offense, but I think it's up here. I think it's really they got blown away by speaking with him, how he handles himself, and how he was able to get through understanding playbooks, because he's had so many similar things at NDSU. You can say what you want about competition, and that's all fair, but he still did run a pro-style offense that has so many Shanahan concepts in it. So I believe that it was more, 1, just being mature, and 2, I think it's really what was up here that cinched the deal for him on top of all the athleticism.
And I think the part to me that you nailed about that is, I think when they talked to Trey Lance and they got to know the person more than anything, they're probably looking at him versus the other 2 guys they were considering. And I think you're right. Cerebrally, I think that he just blew them away in a way to where even Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson weren't being asked to do the type of things that Trey Lance was being asked to do at NDSU. Right. And you really nailed all the reasons why I think they drafted Trey Lance. And there's one small part of this, though, I think that's important. And I don't want to say it's a determining factor, but I think it's definitely something that adds to the allure of Trey Lance, is that I think he can be really successful in a run-first system, right? And we know with the 49ers, that's the type of system that they're going to be running now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if Kyle Shanahan's the head coach. So I think when you take everything into consideration, like you were talking about before, right, with the cerebral stuff, with the physical traits that are amazing, of course, right? When you take all of that into account and then add on top that he can be very successful in a running system, in a run-first system like he was at North Dakota State, that probably is what, to me, I think would set him over the edge versus some of the other guys that they were considering, like Justin Fields and Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's tough to speculate because, I was a big Justin Fields guy. I still am. I can't back away from my analysis. If I went through my evaluations and I saw that I wanted Justin Fields over Trey Lance, I can't deny that. When I first got through my process in the beginning, I hadn't looked through everybody, but the first person I looked at was Trey. I fell in love with him automatically. It wasn't until I started looking at Justin Fields that I started to say, okay, I think this should be the pick at 3. That's neither here nor there, but I think you're absolutely right about all those things. The athleticism, that doesn't need to be explained. It's on tape. You see the throws, you see how fast, you see how big he is. But once you talk to the kid, I think that's what changed everything else. So I can't speculate what happened in any interview that he had with Justin, who he knows for a long time from QB Collective, or anything that has to do with whether they met with Mac or Zach Wilson. I don't know how that went, but apparently Trey Lance did enough to the point where John Lynch goes on PFF's podcast and says, we left Justin Fields pro day, and he's drawing up plays for Trey Lance. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with the stories that are coming out afterwards that kind of reaffirm that it was Trey pretty much the whole time.